Hey everybody, my name's Ed. Okay, it's another random comic book review. This is going to be another one where I read a review I wrote for a comic book website that I was writing for a few years back called Inveterate Media Junkies. That site is not active anymore. I really don't know what's going on with the guys that were running it, but I just thought it might be fun to to just read the reviews cause since I wrote them. Why not? All right, so we'll just jump into it. This one's going to be Hate Comics by Pete Bag or Baggy number 8 from 1992. Okay, so we'll just jump into what I wrote here. I might have to break character once or twice. I don't think so. This one I don't think was as edited as much as a couple of the earlier reviews I wrote, but we'll see. We'll just go ahead. All right, so written and drawn by underground slash alternative Peter. Written and drawn by underground alternative cartoonist Pete Bag in 1993, Hate number 8 really takes me back. Wow, the 90s. Please forgive me, but wow. That's when commercial rap music can mean anything from MC Hammer to Public Enemy to Guru and Jazzmatazz. American cartoons made a comeback through television series such as The Animaniacs, Batman, and The Simpsons, as well as theatrical releases like Beauty and the Beast. I personally reached a certain level of, let's say, life experience to extend the more abstract aspects of 70s underground comics by the likes of Robert Crumb, Gilbert Shelton, S. Clay Wilson. Image Comics, spearheaded by Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Mark Silvestri, Jim Valentino, Eric Larson, and Todd McFarlane, was the company shaking things up in the mainstream superhero comic industry. And getting to the point of this review, grunge slash alternative rock music was invading mainstream pop culture in a big way. Peter Bag, along with a handful of other artists, were peeking in on the phenomena. They weren't really peeking in; they were actually there at ground zero. Hailing from New York slash New Jersey suburbs, Bag lived in Seattle during the late 80s, early 90s, and was actually friends with some of the people at Sub Pop Records, the original home of Soundgarden, Nirvana, and others. Bag was reportedly at ground zero for this trend and even drew the covers for several Seattle-based bands, singles, and albums. After his anthology Neat Stuff was canceled, Peter started Hate for Fantagraphic Comics. The writer-artist used one of the features he created for the former comic series, A Slice of Life, about a dysfunctional family called the Bradleys, as the centerpiece for Hate. The comic chronicles the adventures slash friendships of the Bradleys' cynical oldest son, Buddy, and his roommates, Stinky and George, plus his romances with Val and crazy girl Lisa. In part one of Follow That Dream, Buddy, after being prodded by girlfriend Val, stumbles on an opportunity to manage a young band that's going nowhere fast. Buddy joins Stinky as co manager, even though he thinks the group is awful. Still, he sees the quartet band members are Kurt, and Greg as a chance to relieve him from some of his malaise and make a few dollars. Stinky is a terrible manager. Once he was so high, he accepted a diseased cat as payment for a gig. Despite the odds, Buddy succeeds in getting the band real money. His efforts don't really seem to make that big of an impression, though, as band members' main obsession appear to be drinking beer and changing the group's name for every gig. It's a great running gag, as Bag uses the titles of several underground alternative comics for different band names. There's even a shout out to future Image had Larry Marder in his classic comic Tales of the Bean World. Spoiler alert, I didn't write spoiler alert. This issue ends with the band's old singer quitting to go into teaching and Stinky making his debut as the rock band's new frontman. Peter Bag's writing for Hate number 8 is smart, cynical, and funny. Still, I might have a slight bias. When this comic was originally published, I was living a somewhat similar lifestyle to the main characters. My friends and I would drive to rock shows and actively debate the merits of Iggy Pop's Stooges work versus his comeback with Choir of Love. When we weren't at gigs, we'd listen to music and consume mass quantities of beer. Bias aside, the plot in this issue is tight and fast moving. Although this is a comedy title, the events seem plausible in context. The characters are distinct and well rounded. Their dialogue sounds real. The humor is based on personalities and situations. Seldom are there arbitrary one liners or gags for gag's sake. The Peter's art is well, Peter's art. It's crazy, exaggerated, and perfectly suits the subject matter. It's black and white, but Bag's excellent use of cross-hatching and shading gives the visual enough depth and weight that any reader shouldn't feel they're missing anything without color. To be blunt, I've seen some of Peter Bag's color work for DC Comics from a few years ago, and I prefer his grittier black and white stuff. His art isn't exactly pretty, but it is one of a kind and very funny. His characters are all big noses, crazy hairdos, beady eyes, and comic imperfections. When was the last time you saw one of today's realistic artists draw someone with acne scars? To prove Bag's uniqueness, I didn't write this, or at least I didn't write it this way. To prove Bag's uniqueness, I cannot think of just one individual artist that his work reminds me of. To prove Bag's uniqueness, I definitely didn't write that. I just my brain doesn't structure sentences that way. I probably wrote something like, I can't think of just one individual artist that his work reminds me of. Okay. His style brings to mind everything and everyone. I probably said just brings to mind everyone from Crumb to Mad Magazine's Don Martin to Crack Magazine to Sheldon's Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers to Ed Big Daddy Ross Rat Fink. I was always just a little bit surprised that Bag, the Hernandez brothers, and a few others from that group of artists weren't bigger names during the mid 90s. Sure, they were all popular and some of them had much success in the commercial art field. Dan Clowes even got his Ghost World and 8 Balls Art School Confidential made into films, but I thought they should have been massive for their comics. Bag, like many of these creators, were getting write-ups in hit magazines like Rolling Stone and Spin, and they seemed directly plugged into the zeitgeist, yet maybe their publishers weren't savvy enough to take them to the next level with a wider audience, most likely best explored in depth as another subject for another time. I probably just said something like, that's a matter for another time. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this particular review. I did another one that I might put up. There's another one connected to this article, I should say, that I might put up a little bit later. But like I said, that's it for this one. Thank you very much. Leave any comments you like. Thanks, and have a great day.